Of all the Daedric princes in the Elder Scrolls, of all the powerful lords who abuse their power to torment the mortals of Tamriel for no real reason whatsoever, there is one in particular who is the most despicable. He is reprehensibly evil. He is the kind of guy who never thanks the bus driver. His name is Molag Bal. Of all the atrocities Molag Bal claims responsibility for, not one of them can be in any way construed as having a positive impact on the lives of Tamriel's mortal residents. Mehrunes Dagon, who is often compared to Bal for his destructive capabilities, the desolation he leaves in his wake can at least be attributed to political change, to overthrowing corrupt governments and tyrants. When Dagon destroys, there is hope that things will one day be rebuilt, probably by the rebels, who will soon become the tyrants in their stead. And then Mehrunes Dagon is called upon again to complete the never-ending cycle. But with Bal, there is no such thing as hope. Molag Bal is the Daedric prince of domination and the enslavement of mortals. He is the father of all vampires. He harvests mortal souls and consumes them for sustenance. He is the proud patron of rapists, and is not above committing the act gladly himself. He is egregious beyond reconciliation. If Molag Bal gets his way, all men, all mer, and all beasts will serve for all eternity in the dark and dreadful realm of Coldharbour. And the thing is, as I'm going to get into in this video, is that this isn't even the worst part. Molag Bal is also associated with corruption. He's not satisfied simply to destroy everything mortals strive tirelessly to create, for he could tear down cities with his eyes closed. No, Molag Bal will seek out the most noble, the most gallant, the most pure, kind-hearted soul in Mundus, and he will see to it that that man is the one who carries out the destruction. That is what makes Molag Bal the most evil Daedric prince. Some may argue that Sheogorath or Dagon or Boethia or another holds that title. You could even argue that Daedric princes are not evil, as they do not operate under the same moral compass as mortals, and have their own motivations for everything they do. But I think Molag Bal is as close to pure evil as you're ever going to find. Hey guys, it's Drew here and welcome back to FudgeMuppet. In this video I'm going to tell you all there is to know about the Daedric Prince of domination and enslavement, and I'll also further explore that all-important concept of evil in the Elder Scrolls universe. It is almost impossible to boil down evil into one simplified form, but I think Molag Bal comes damn close. But before we tackle that leviathan of a topic, let's clear up exactly who Molag Bal is. Molag Bal, the schemer prince, the harvester of souls, has one main desire. That is, aside from his unyielding hunger for mortal souls, of course. The Prince of Enslavement wishes to bind the mortal realm of Mundus with his realm of Oblivion, Coldharbour. This plane is about as undesirable as its lord. It is a sick and twisted reflection of Nirn, with many of the same features and landmarks, only instead of bright skies, rolling fields and fertile soil, Coldharbour's ground is barren sludge. The sky burns incessantly, yet the air is cold enough to rattle the bones. Whether it is an alternate version of Nirn, or Molag Bal's interpretation of a future Nirn under his control isn't certain, but under the dominion of the King of Rape and Prince of Enslavement, the suffering is insurmountable, and the sight of the ruined world would make all mortals weep. In the words of Morian Xenos, the master conjurer who ventured through many realms of oblivion, the air in Coldharbour felt like daggers of ice stabbing him in all directions, and the sight of the Imperial Palace spattered with blood and excrement sent a shiver down his spine. How Xenos escaped with his life is a miracle, as most mortals are not so fortunate. Any mortal entering Bal's realm is instantly captured and forced into servitude. These slaves become known as his soul shriven, soulless thralls labouring under Bal's command for all time. As I mentioned earlier, Molag Bal wishes to merge Nirn with his realm. With his realm already resembling a desolate, hellish variant of Nirn, it wouldn't take long for the mortal realm to assimilate. Just imagine the entire planet thrust into darkness, and all mortals forced into slavery without hope of protection from the divines. In recorded history, Molag Bal has attempted this once, in the year 582 of the Second Era. The event became known as the planemeld, and Bal's coming was signalled by the appearance of gigantic dark anchors which served to join the two realms into one. The attempt was unsuccessful, however, thanks to the intervention of a mortal known as the Vestige. As for the Soul Shriven, these are the beings enslaved by Bal. In a perverse way, Molag Bal actually bestows his subjects with immortality, though it's not the kind of immortality mortals hold in high esteem. Becoming a soul shriven is nothing like ascending. Bal's soul shriven are the mortal scraps tossed aside once the prince has consumed the soul. The individuals left behind are soulless shells doomed to toil in torment for Molag Bal's amusement. A particularly horrific detail about the soul shriven and Bal's process of enslaving mortals is the methodical nature of such torment. If Bal simply wanted to consume the souls, he could do so without inflicting suffering on the victim, and if he had no further use for them, but wants to populate his realm with soulless slaves, he could easily just leave them trapped in Coldharbour. But Bal actually has Dremora oversee and administer the torture in a structured, systematic fashion. He actually has toil and torment quotas to fill, despite the fact that nothing can be gained beyond amusement for the torture. It's not like they have information he seeks, and it's not like he needs to torment them into obedience. His sadism is scarily systematic. It seems to be that the only subjects of Molag Bal's who are immune to his eternal torment are the vampires. Molag Bal created the first vampire as an insult to Arche. Arche is the divine associated with the cycle of life and death, and it's no surprise that Bal was adamant about profaning such natural traditions. He searched Tamriel for the purest, most innocent Nedic woman he could find, and he sullied her, stealing her virginity in such a savage fashion that I'll spare you the details. Violated and comatose, Lemay Bialfag was found by nomads and cared for. A fortnight hence, the nomad weird woman enshrouded Lemay in pall, for she had passed into death. In their way, the nomads built a bonfire to immolate the husk. That night, Lemay rose from her funeral pyre and set upon the coven still aflame. She ripped the throats of the women, ate the eyes of the children, and raped their men as cruelly as Bal had ravished her. And so Lemay imprecated her foul aspect upon the folk of Tamriel, and began a brood of countless abominations, from which came the vampires, most cunning of the night horrors. And so was the scourge of undeath wrought upon Tamriel, cruelly mocking Arche's rhythm of life and death through all of the coming eras of the Atada, and for all his sadness, Arche knew this could not be undone. It seems fitting that such vicious creatures were born of pure unadulterated spite. All of Molag Bal's cruelty was manifested in these beings, and they have been a blight to mortals ever since. Before I get into my final point about Molag Bal's malevolence, I feel it is only fair to throw him a bone. Even this prince, who so far seems completely beyond forgiveness, can be fair and almost respectful to certain mortals. This comes from his affiliation with dominance. As you can see through the Soul Shriven, and even some of his vampires, Molag Bal will be merciless in his treatment of those he considers weak. But should you show strength in his presence, or have the gall to defy him despite his daunting presence, you will notice a drastic shift in his mood. When completing his tasks, he almost speaks in a friendly manner to the champion of Cyrodiil and the last Dragonborn, and during the time of the planemeld, Bal originally addresses mortals as wretched things, claiming that the skins of those you love will fly as my banners. But when Bal is defeated and humbled by the vestige, he speaks magnanimously, saying things like, "We sometimes admire our prey, and secretly applaud when it cheats our snares, and your strength will be rewarded one day." But there you go, that is about as close as I can possibly get to portraying Molag Bal in a positive light. Let's now get back to my original supposition. Molag Bal is, in my mind, unquestionably the most evil Daedric prince. Earlier in the video I pitched a few names for princes who might rival him for that title, so I'll mention briefly an argument for them before speaking of Bal. You may have your own theories for contenders in this category, and if so, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. The first name I gave is Sheogorath. After encountering him in the Shivering Isles, and being mantled by the champion of Cyrodiil, he hardly seems evil, more bipolar and unpredictable than evil. But the best case I can pitch for this prince is one particular act of his. In the 16 Accords of Madness, Volume 12, we can read a terrifying tale. These accords tell of Sheo defeating the other Daedric princes, usually with little to no physical exertion but simple trickery. In this tale he gifts a noble orc warrior with a mighty sword, his artifact, Neb Crescent. Only this artifact gives the wielder an unnaturally powerful desire to slay anything in sight. Failing to mention this, Sheogorath tricked the warrior into butchering a young innocent girl, her body turned to a canvas of grisly wounds. This mighty warrior, blessed by Malakath, was punished for his sin. Sheogorath summoned Malakath to the scene of the crime and gave the patron of the spurned, Neb Crescent, to enact revenge. It was only after the blade fueled the prince's bloodlust that Malakath realised Sheogorath's sadistic deception. When it comes to the Prince of Madness, I find the word evil cannot be applied. Sheogorath is batshit crazy, and that is the best defence against the accusation. As for Boethia, he or she, or however you prefer to view this prince's gender, is the Daedric lord of murder, plots, deceit and the like. I will speak more about this prince in an upcoming video, but Boethia seems to me to be harsh and methodical, but fair to those who obey her commands. With Mehrunes Dagon, I spoke about this at the beginning of the video. Dagon is just as prone to wreaking destruction as Molag Bal, only their motives are very different, as are their methods of execution. Mehrunes Dagon destroys in the name of revolution. Demolition leads to rebuilding something new and different, even if hundreds of thousands die in the process. He believes that it is for the greater good, and has a clear and understandable motivation for his deeds. At least as clear and understandable as a Daedric lord can be to a mortal. Molag Bal is a completely different story. There is no greater good. The only thing that can be gained from the havoc he creates is amusement, an influx of souls to feast upon, and a bunch of new recruits to serve in Coldharbour. But it's not like he needs those slaves and takes them for any reason. We've established already that the labour and the torment in his realm isn't necessary, but simply enforced for the sake of the Dreadlord's enjoyment. What's more, as we see displayed during the Oblivion crisis, is the joy Bal feels when watching a good man turn against his better judgment. Despite all of the chaos going on in Cyrodiil at the time, Molag Bal's attention was fixated upon one man. This man is Mellus Petilius, and his crime was swearing off violence. Mellus was a heroic paladin. He rushed off to face danger, helping anyone in need. During one of his expeditions, his wife Vaina was taken by a fever. Despite his good deeds, he was not there to ease her passage to the afterlife. He felt he had abandoned her, so he took a vow of pacifism and spends his life in solitude, praying at her grave every single day. It is this man who Molag Bal wishes to torment and corrupt, so he gives you a cursed mace and tells you to incite Mellus into violence in front of his wife's sacred resting place. If successful, Molag Bal will gift the champion his artifact, the Mace of Molag Bal. This quest just about sums up Molag Bal. While Dagon is in the spotlight sowing seeds of ruination across Cyrodiil, Molag Bal is targeting the most noble souls, just for kicks. Bal can't settle for just devastation. Horrible things happen all the time after all. Bal would rather see a humble man kill one person than a monster kill 1,000. There is nothing more tragic than a good person being denied an afterlife and instead taken to Bal's hellish realm. There they can ponder on their injustice for all time, and it will only contribute to and enhance the flavour of their torment. Putting the torch to a city is a cruel and reprehensible act, but corrupting a good man and making him light the flame for your amusement, that's about as close to evil as you're ever going to get in the Elder Scrolls. And there you have it guys, the most evil Daedric prince, Molag Bal. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any thoughts on what constitutes evil among these immortal princes, I'd love to hear it. Thanks so much for watching guys, I've been Drew, and I will see you next time.